Before we begin, just a reminder, can all senators please change their name to include senator after or before your pronouns, as long as it's in there. It's much more helpful for counting voting. Thank you. The Senate will be called to order. First item on the agenda is a land acknowledgement. Since this meeting is being held online, a singular land acknowledgement doesn't capture the richness of our distribution across many locations in the United States and around the world. As Associated Student Government is a body under the University of San Diego, I would like to share the land acknowledgement that is used at USD, and I also invite today's participants to consider their own position with regard to the land they find themselves. I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaw Nation. I want to pay respect to the citizens of the Kumeyaw Nation, both past and present, and their continuing relationship to their ancestral lands. The Clerk of Senate will now take roll.
Alrighty, thank you. Alrighty, so AJ Armenta, I'm so sorry if I butchered the names.
No, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Alana Del Torre.
Here.
Okay, great. Alana Blackman.
Here.
Thank you. Alexa Andrade. Sorry.
Here.
Thanks, guys. Angela Tharp.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Benjamin Tebow. Ben.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Brooke Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Catalina Carbal. Okay.
It's Carvajal. It's like an H, but like an H in hospital.
Okay.
But we can talk after. I'll help you out.
Thank you. Thank you. My Spanish needs a little work. I'm so sorry. Okay. Cecilia Byron.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, Chidi Akaru.
Here.
Thank you. Daniela Peña.
Here.
Thank you. Elena Cruz.
Here.
Thank you. Ezra Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you. Fantasy Bias.
Here.
Thank you. Harrison Tarbox.
Here.
Thank you. Jay Johnson.
I'm here.
Thank you. Lauren Fetis.
Here. Bettis.
Oh, Fetis. Bad. Okay. Okay. Apologies if I. McKenny Sherrard.
Here, it's Mackenzie Sherrod.
Oh, okay. Mackenzie. Oh, I don't know why there isn't a Z. Okay, I'll fix that. My bad. Madeline Wu.
Here.
Thank you. Max Donahoe.
Here.
Thank you. Meg McWilliams.
Here.
Thank you. Mia Soto.
Here.
Thank you. Sabrina Mendoza.
Here.
Thank you. Sean Kenny. Oh, Sean Kenny.
If I may, he has just contacted me saying he's stuck at the bank on campus, but he will be in soon.
Okay, let me make note of that really quickly. Okay, I will come back to that. I'll just put that in right now. And then Tina Fey.
Tiana Fee in here.
Tina Fey. Okay, thank you. And then Did I happen to mention the new senators? I think I added them. If anyone, or did I?
Yeah, you got the new senators.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Alrighty, we're all good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of today's agenda. Are there any motions?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Just as a reminder, please raise your hand if you're making a motion and it's I move to approve the agenda, but thank you. Are there any seconds? There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve today's agenda. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. The agenda has been approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of last week's minutes. Are there any motions? Angelo.
I move to approve the minutes from last week.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve last week's minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. The minutes have been approved. So next time on the agenda is a report from me. A few things. So I just wanted to say that the committee chairs, it's an expectation that you add your meetings and your events that you're planning to have to the ASG meetings and events calendar, which should have been shared with you from the USD involvement team. Let me know if you have not gotten that calendar shared with you, but please update it as frequently as you need to. And this goes for all senators. I know that a lot of the times we want to extend the discussion, but it's more efficient to extend it by a longer period of time rather than a shorter period of time and then have to extend the discussion again. So if you would like to extend the discussion, I would recommend going for a longer period of time. And then if there's no more discussion, then we can just move on rather than it being another motion having to be required, another vote. But those are all my updates for me. So moving on to reports from committee chairs, we'll start with the academics committee.
Thanks, Maya. So currently the academics committee is working on finalizing the process for applications of the academic grants this year. Just to let your constituents know if they're interested, applications are due by October 26th of this month. So that's all we have to share for right now.
Thank you. Inclusion, diversity, and equity chair.
Yeah, so last night we held an open forum discussion regarding the Silent No More op-ed, and that was recorded, and that recording will be made available to everyone who wasn't able to attend. And we are working on planning another one with a bit more advance notice, because I know that one was short notice, to continue this discussion and work on the collective response. And so we are still working on figuring out all the logistics of how to make that response really intentional and comprehensive. And so as we work on that, we will continue updating all of you and all of Senate, and updating about the next open forum discussion about this.
Thank you. Student orgs chair.
So we have one org today that's seeking approval, and then also at our meeting tonight, we're going to be talking about what anti-racism training will look like for the student org leaders.
Thank you. Student Life Chair.
As of now, I have no update. Thank you.
Thank you. Athletics Coordinator.
Yeah, I've been in contact with the SAC admin leaders. That's a Student Athlete Advisory Council. And so I'm coordinating with them to get student athlete needs met from their side. And also next week, I will be meeting with the Assistant Director of Marketing and the Bullpit President to coordinate with them for future events.
Sounds great. Thank you. Health and Wellness Coordinator.
I don't have any big stuff right now, but I do got a lot of things planned. I'll have more to share next week or the week afterwards. Who knows? Maybe next week.
Sounds good. Thank you. Sustainability Coordinator.
Yes, so in talking to some students, I found that many of them want to bring composting onto campus. So I'm researching the best possible ways to at least start the process of that. And then second, we're working on better marketing for the Aussie boxes, trying to get more use out of them. And I think that starts with asking you guys, the senators, what you think your constituents or why they would not use an Aussie box. So if you could like type in the chat or send me an email your thoughts on the usability of them, I would love to hear. Thank you.
Okay, so senators, if you have any resources or information you'd like to share with the Sustainability Chair, feel free to send Madeline an email or send it in the chat. You can also put your email in the chat, Madeline, if you'd like. Moving on to the next item on the agenda are reports from ASG Executive Board members. So we'll just go in order of the positions on the slides. So Joey.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for all the work you've been putting in for the past week. In terms of updates, me as well as some of the senators met with Ashley from the BSRC. Super productive meeting. Basically, what she has asked of us is to really just emphasize and advertise what they're doing at the BSRC. And then we also talked about possibly hosting a formal discussion open to the entirety of the school to discuss Black at USD, inviting representatives from FSL because they are explicitly addressed in a lot of the Black at USD posts. So I think it'd be important for accountability purposes and just to advance dialogue on campus. Additionally, Kelsey from the Black Alumni Network has provided me with the contacts of Marissa and Katie. They're both Black student athletes, and we just like to discuss that. So Lauren, I'll obviously keep you in the loop with that, and any other senators or members of ASG that would like to be included in this meeting, please contact me. And then on Monday, we had our finance committee meeting, went pretty smoothly. We confirmed everything that needed to be confirmed, approved. So there's that. And then, so the meeting last Friday with GSP got postponed because, well, I got robbed, literally. So it's going to be moved to this Friday. So if anyone is interested in attending, please let me know. And then Ramin from the Muslim Student Association has reached out because we both think it's really important to address what a crisis going on in northwestern China right now with regards to the Uyghurs and the concentration camps. A million Uyghurs are being held in these camps, and quite frankly, I feel like a large portion of the population, including myself, is not informed to the extent that we need to be. So if anyone is interested in attending this meeting and possibly discussing an information campaign to spread throughout the entirety of the student body, please let me know. But yeah, that's all the updates I have. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. A couple announcements from me. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge AJ's announcement. So for those of you who are unaware, ASG funds what's called academic undergraduate research grants. So students, whether they're in the School of Engineering, School of Business, in the arts or sciences, they can do extra research, and the funding that is required for that research can be funded through the student activities fee that ASG has for academics. Like AJ said, the application is due October 26th. So if you know any of your constituents that would like to partake in this process, just let them know that the application actually launches tomorrow. And AJ and the academics committee will sort of spearhead the process of hearing these applications. Just a real quick update from the undergraduate core curriculum committee. There are several program proposals for the next academic school year. While they have not been approved for the school yet, since the UCC approved them, they're going to move on to the academic assembly to be heard. So I felt that it was important to update you all that these program proposals were in the process. That is a BS in biophysics and physics to go with the BA in those specific majors, as well as minors in creative writing and a minor in Africana studies. My last announcement, the College of Arts and Sciences Academic Assembly, they have a grade grievance committee and several faculty sit on it, but they just informed me that they need one student representative. So I ask that a College of Arts and Sciences senator, or if there's a student here that is College of Arts and Sciences, please privately chat me or email me after this meeting so I can set you or get you in touch with those individuals. And then real quick, actually one last thing, I just want to take a moment to give a kudos to everyone who was present at the ID&E open meeting last night. You all did fantastic. That's all for me.
Hi everyone. So this Tuesday during dead hours was our Latinx panel, and it was a huge success. Thank y'all to everyone who came and attended. Another event that we are doing for Latinx Heritage Month is a collaboration with MECHA, and so it's during their GBM tonight from 7 to 8:30 Pacific Standard Time, and you'll get to learn more about what is Latinx Heritage Month, and it'll be a really fun Jeopardy game. So please be sure to attend. I've linked MECHA's Instagram account where they will have more information. And then if y'all don't have Instagram, I linked the URL that you can put onto just any of your preferred browsers, and then you can just access it there since there are a public account. I also want to note that next week is homecoming week, which is super exciting, very exciting. We have a sign up, so we have various game shows throughout the week. And then we also have an opportunity just to register to get a free spirit box, which will include a t-shirt, phone decal, like a sticker decal, and then a phone stand. And so if you want to sign up for that, you can just go to the link tree that's linked right there. And then I just wanted to do a brief overview of what's planned. On Monday, we'll be having a Terrera feud. If you want to do it and you don't have any friends who want to do it with you, we have other groups of individuals and we'll pair individuals, or you can do it as a group and just make sure you have a name. And it will be live streamed. Tuesday's Price is Right, and it will be done through our Instagram story. Wednesday is Jeopardy, which will be played via Google Form. Thursday is an open mic night. And then on Friday, there's a casino night where all people who attend and are registered will have an opportunity to win a 2-night stay at the Dana Hotel. And then if you attend the Big Blue Bash from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll have an opportunity to also have a 2-night stay at the Humphreys Half Moon Bay in Shelter Island, or there will also be, I think, $200 cash prizes too if you are in attendance. And then just as a last thing, all week you'll be able to register and get one of those free spare boxes, which I highly recommend for you all to do, because all you have to do is fill out a form. And that is everything for me.
I don't have too many updates this week. I've mentioned for the past few weeks the extenuating circumstance clauses, and I believe last week I mentioned that I sent them to Dr. Harrington, Tom, for just feedback to make sure they're all good, and he finally got back to me and they pretty much were good. There were just some small clarifications that we need to make, and so I believe Mina discussed that we'll add that to the agenda next week. So I'll send them out to you well beforehand, probably before you even get the agenda, possibly Sunday night, probably by Monday at the latest, for you all to look over them and just make questions to ask me. And of course, I can answer questions in Senate. And then next we have the appeals process for potential student organizations. So when student orgs like apply to become a student org, before they get to the student org committee, there's like an external affiliation committee for any orgs that have like a national or international association or something like that. And so that's like a group of faculty or staff that looks it over. And so we're coming up with an appeals process for it to go to ASG, like if students, the applying student org think that they were wrongly denied by the EAC, they can come to us. And so Alana and I are working on that, and we'll come to you with more details. And also, I forgot to put it here, but we're also thinking of making a student org committee bylaws just to have them more formalized and kind of out there. So we'll keep you updated on that in the coming weeks. And that's all for me.
Hello, everyone. Today I'll be discussing the Q1 reports and the budget reallocations that the Finance Committee reallocate this last Monday. And the ASGBC controller, Chris, will be presenting the new set of guidelines that we have for GrabHub and DoorDash. And those are my parties.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you all are doing well. Just a few updates. So for our weekly updates video, if you have any clips, they're due today for the week of October 19th. And if the form doesn't work, you can email me. So I've been hearing a lot of great ideas from the committee chairs. So if you all want to get that going, that's a great resource for you all to update the student body. The Senate Zoom link should now be working. If there are any problems, just be sure to DM the Instagram or email me. And then our marketing committee met this week. We're going to start to kind of collaborate, especially with like figuring out how to enhance the website. So we're meeting with Jeff Fox, who's our grad assistant, next week. And if you have any marketing content for us to upload on various outlets, just send that to us 2 weeks before the event or whatever is happening. And you can either send that to me, Sabrina, Ezra, or Mia, who are the members of the marketing committee. And yes, and then lastly, I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. And if you want to be tagged on the Meet the Team spotlights, or if you don't at all, just please be sure to fill out that form. I'll send a follow-up email in regards to more information, but this will just be sure if you want us to tag you, just like putting your handle in one place. So that's all I have. Thank you.
And I have no updates for today.
Thank you. Moving on to the first line item under new business is the approval of new student organizations. So Alana, the floor is yours.
Hi, so we have one new student organization that's seeking approval. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we have the Citizens Climate Lobby, and they're a new environmental group on campus, but it's more policy-based. So they have 3 main goals: to establish a strong sense of community among members and e-board, to learn new skills that will help further their agendas and personal growth as citizens, growth as speakers, informatives, etc., and to make a difference in understanding and taking action against climate change and for sustainable practices. Are there any questions about this org? Or any motions to approve?
Meg, should I?
Ben?
I move to approve the student org.
Second. There was a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the Citizens Climate Lobby. Is there any further discussion? If not, you may cast your vote. Motion passes. Citizens Climate Lobby has been approved. Next item on the agenda under new business is Finance Committee overview and Q1 allocations review.
All right, before I start discussing the current one reports and the reallocations, I want to, Marilyn and I, we want to give a brief presentation on how the Finance Committee works, how the budget breakdown. So you are more familiar with the topic, you know, as you know, I get to explain all the reallocations and everything. Maya, can I share my screen, please?
Yes, can you turn on your closed captioning on your Google Slides when you share, please?
Mm-hmm. Hopefully it works.
All right, awesome. Were you able to get that closed captioning on?
Still have it?
So just at the bottom, if you go to closed captioning, it should pop up. And if you click it, then it'll show. If you put your cursor on the bottom of the slide. There you go.
Should I put it in the top?
Maybe the bottom.
It's in the bar.
Perfect. Thank you. I still don't see it. Are other people seeing it? Okay. Can we try just pressing that button one more time? There we go. I think it's working now. Yay. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Madeline Craig, and I'm the Assistant Director for ASG. And I use she, her pronouns. And like Ratha mentioned, this training is really intended to provide a brief overview of what the ASG budget looks like, how it's allocated and managed. So that way, as we bring budgets to you throughout the semester, you have a little bit more of background on how the Finance Committee works. So to jump right in, the Finance Committee is a body within ASG, and their primary function is to allocate and oversee the student activity fee. So they'll meet throughout the year to allocate funds both for the fall semester and for the spring semester. And they'll also meet about 4 times a year to review how the different areas that they've given funding to are using those funds. So those meetings to review usually happen in the middle of the semester and at the end of each semester. And as the Finance Committee is allocating funding, one of the things that we ask them to be really intentional about, and that we'll also ask all of you as senators to be intentional about as you are looking through these budgets, is that you're a good steward of the student activity fee. So students pay the student activity fee in order to enhance their experience at USD. And so as you're looking through these budgets, it's good to think about how you're impacting the student experience, how you're reaching different student groups throughout campus, and really ensuring to the best extent possible that you're reaching various groups of students and as many students as possible with the funds you're allocating. And so Rafa will talk a little bit more about how that process works.
So basically the funds are allocated between ASG, TPB, and centers. And the big difference here is that TPB and one of the centers, which is the sports club, they receive a lump sum, which is different the other centers and the executive team, which basically this lump sum, they have flexibility to allocate their funding because their events can have fluctuations and other expenses that are not they're not aware of. So that's why they have the flexibility with their lump sum. And for all the other executive team and the centers, they request by line item, and we allocate funding based on, you know, a specific event or and so on. Anything else, Mel, that you want to add for this one?
I think one big picture piece that's helpful for you all to know is that the Finance Committee will get together. They'll get a bunch of requests in from all of these different areas, and they'll make a recommendation of how they think these funds should be allocated. And that recommendation is what is presented to you all as senators. And then you'll have the ultimate vote to decide whether or not that budget passes as it was recommended by the Finance Committee. And you'll get line item breakdown of all of those pieces of the budget before you're asked to make that decision.
And the members of the Finance Committee are the President, Vice President, the Speaker of the Senate, TPB Chair, and the 4 Senate Committee Chairs. And the non-voting members are the Chief of Staff and the Finance Chair.
All right, so now that you have an idea of how the Finance Committee works, I think it'll be helpful to give a big picture of the ASG budget. So this academic year, we're predicting that ASG will have about $1.3 million for their budget. And as I mentioned, that's collected through the semesterly student activity fee that undergraduate students pay. And the way that the Finance Committee allocates their budget is outlined within their bylaws, and they give guidance that there should be a budget breakdown that looks like this on the screen. So there should be about 40% of that budget that's allocated to the ASG team each semester. Roughly 35% should go to TPB, 20% should go to centers, and 5% should go to the reserve. And we'll talk about each of those areas in a bit more detail. Can you go to the next slide, Rafa?
I just want to add that it can have a, a fluctuation of 7% plus or minus. So it can be 47% or 33% for ASG and so on.
Awesome, thank you. And so as we talk about ASG, these are the different areas that we'll allocate money to in the ASG team. So the committee will allocate money to the ASG exec team. So that's like the president, vice president, chief of staff, et cetera, for different programs and initiatives that they're putting on throughout the semester. They'll also allocate a pot of funds to ASGBC, which allocates funding to student organizations for different programs, events, et cetera, that they're doing as well. They give a pot of money to the Senate, so you all will have funds available if you want to do an initiative that requires some funding, and to the judicial branch to support their operations. They also allocate funding to the ASG operations, so these are things that ASG needs to continue functioning, such as supplies for our office, different salaries, et cetera, work service awards, things like that, and to support the Creative Zone. The 35% that goes to TPB goes to campus programming to support the undergraduate student experience. And then we have about 20% that goes to centers. And the centers that we're currently supporting are listed here. And the way that ASG decides which areas to allocate funding to as centers is thinking about which areas really are embedded within the undergraduate student experience that align with ASG's mission as much as possible, and that serve a large undergraduate student population. So sometimes we will get additional centers added to this at the beginning of the year via application, and this is a list of who we're currently supporting through the ASG budget. And then we talked about that 5% reserve. So the bylaws specifically state that $65,000 or 5% of the budget, whichever is lower, will go towards the reserve. And I like to think of the reserve as a rainy day fund for ASG. So essentially the ASG Finance Committee is going to allocate the student activity fee to the different areas that we just talked about. And so those areas are going to be spending that money throughout the year. But sometimes things might happen in the community or in the world that as ASG you want to respond to, and you might need funding in order to do that. And so we hold on to this reserve in case anything unpredictable comes up for ASG, so you have a little bit of money that you can put towards those unpredictable events. And the reserve funding, if you ever want to spend it, a proposal needs to come directly to the Senate, and it needs to be passed with 2/3 of Senate approval for spending. All right, so those are the main areas where the ASG budget goes. And then one other piece of the budget is the endowment. And before I start talking about the endowment, I want to note one important thing. So as we collect the student activity fee, the goal of the Finance Committee and the goal of ASG as a whole is to have the different areas that we give funding to spend all of that money within that academic year. And the reason for this is because students are paying into the student activity fee to see their experience enhanced within that year. And so the more that you're able to use the money in order to do that, the better. With that being said, often areas don't spend 100% of the money that they're given in a given year. So for example, we might give $500 to an initiative, and by the time all the spending is done on that initiative, they spent $480. And so you have a little bit of money left over. And so when we look at that pot of money that's left at the end of the academic year, a portion of that will go into the endowment, and then another portion will get rolled over into the next academic year to be allocated with that funding. And so I'm going to say exactly how the endowment works. I think this is the most confusing part of the ASG budget, so we'll have time for questions at the end if you have any. So with the exception of our reserve, which we just talked about, 75% of all funds that are unspent or unallocated at the end of the fiscal year will go into the ASG endowment. And the ASG endowment is a set of funds that's managed by the university as an investment to generate revenue or interest at the end of the year. And that interest is allocated by an ASG committee to create undergraduate student scholarships. So essentially it's a scholarship fund that we put some of our money that's left over at the end of the year into, and the other portion of the money is rolled over. All right, anything to add to that, Rafa?
You basically cover everything. Thank
Awesome.
you. So where are we now? The Finance Committee review quarter one reports as well as the reallocation requests for the rest of this fall semester. And the committee will be allocating the budget for the spring semester next month. So we will be having another meeting probably the first week of November, or the last meeting of Senate, which is the second week of November. Any questions?
Fantasy?
Yes, thank you. I have two. What happens, I don't know if you said this, sorry, but what happens to the reserves after each year? Yeah. If that makes sense. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna go to my next one, so I don't have to be on here. And then how much goes to the scholarship versus like just the endowment in general, if I'm understanding it correctly? I think it was 75 goes to the endowment. Would the other 25 go to the scholarships, or what is that?
Rafa or Madeline, you can respond.
The 75% goes to the endowment, and the remaining 25%, if I'm correct, or correct me if I'm wrong, Madeline, goes to the rollover for next year, which is allocated to the new fiscal year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the endowment is created to generate some interest at the end of every year. And so it's that interest that we use to give scholarships. And so that'll fluctuate at the end of the year depending on how much interest is earned throughout that fiscal year. And then I think your other question was about the reserve and what happens to the 65,000 or 5%. So anything that is unspent of the reserve by the end of the year will roll directly over into the next academic year for that year's reserve. So it essentially would just move over from year to year if you don't spend it.
Sabrina?
So what would be the process of creating more scholarships? Would that be something that one of the committees would do, or is that like you guys like let us know about extra money that could be allocated for scholarships? I was just wondering. Thank you.
Do you want me to take this one, Rafa?
Yes, please.
Okay. So around April of every year, we'll reach out to our finance office to find out how much revenue is generated from our endowment. And then there's an ASG committee. There are endowment bylaws on the ASG website that outline exactly who should be on that committee. We'll get together to allocate that money out to students with an application process.
Angelo?
Sorry. Like, if we have questions about the budget itself, can we ask them now?
I'll be presenting now the budget and the reallocations, and you're free to do so. And if you have more more detailed questions, you can always go to my office hours.
Okay, yeah, because I just have like some clarifying questions, and so like when the email gets sent out, I noticed that the budget isn't included. I like if moving forward that could be like done, that would be appreciated, because maybe some people, I mean, I knew how to access it, but then I just had questions when we have money for giveaways, like how do we know it's actually being like going towards giveaways? Are records for that, or how does that get managed?
Yeah, that gets reported in the quarter one reports, or each quarter we look individual, like how the centers and the executive branch and everyone else is spending their fund.
And then when we see like something that just says, oh.
Angelo, sorry, I just want to make some space for any other senators who might have any other questions. And if they don't, then I'll call on you again. But does anybody have any questions about how the budget works or how the finance committee works? Because I know that it's a lot of information and it can be confusing. So if you have any questions like what's the line item, that's a perfectly acceptable question. Lauren?
The scholarships that you were talking about, is that things like the trustee scholarship, or is that something outside of that?
Madeline, can you answer this question?
Yeah. So these are scholarships that are specifically managed by ASG. So the bylaws say that these are really meant to be dedicated towards helping students be more involved on campus. And so it would be having an application around how students would want to use this for their involvement.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Angelo, did you want to ask any more?
I just have questions about specific things on the budget that like I'm kind of confused by, but maybe that's for when we talk about, like, we're just asking about operation, like logistical things.
Essentially, yes, this part is broken up into two sections, the sort of giving the background on finance committee and how budget and allocations are made. And then Rafa will be moving into the actual allocations that finance committee made this past.
Okay, thank you. I'll just wait till then.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions from senators, then Rafa.
Okay, thank you. Let me do a new share screen. Is everyone able to see my screen? Okay. So here are the quarter one reports for ETSEC and the centers for this quarter one. So basically, the total amount that was allocated to the centers was almost 104,000, and they have spent 28,000 for this quarter, with a remaining of 75,750. And for reference, the Black Student Resource Commons didn't spend any of their funds, as well as the Changemaker Hub. The Center for Health and Wellness, they spend mostly on the flu campaign. Their whole funds were spent for this specific line item. No changes from the community comments. Fraternity, no changes. The LGBTQ, they only spend roughly $700. And here are the details of how they spend for each of their line items. The gathering, and let's have a key line item as well, and so on. You probably noticed, if you haven't seen the Q1 reports, that there is a negative balance for the McNair Center. You know, I sent an email to the person that leads the McNair team, asking for clarification as well why he overspent on, you know, from his budget. So no changes from the small change from the Outdoors Adventures, only $32. Here's a more detailed breakdown as well for the SAI. The sports club is a little bit different. I let them have some flexibility with how they do their spreadsheet. So they have a 50,000 fund for the whole year. That's annual. So this is the remaining. They have spent 3,655. This includes the insurance and 200 from shirts, which they're allowed to do according to the bylaws. So yeah, so they have a remaining of 46,000 for the whole year. For the SSS, 4,000 they have spent this amount, and here is the breakdown of each of their line items or events. The UFNC as well. No expenses from the veterans or the Women's Commons. And here is the master for the ASG Ops and the Creative Zone with an allocated budget of 146. They had spent 28,000 and remaining of 118. The Creative Zone, no expenses. And the ASG Ops, this is the breakdown of each of their events or line items. Now we move on with the executive budget. The allocation was 216. We had spent around 17,000 and the remaining of 199. For the president, has spent 6,000, and this is from Welcome Week. The vice president, 5,700 from the ASG Textbook Reserve. Financial for the ASGBC funding for this amount. Speaker of the Senate, 650, and this is from the food pantry. Public relations, 662, and this is from the ASG giveaways promotional items. The Chief of Justice, 600 from the ASG fall elections. And the Chief of Staff for 130, and this is for the Calendly line item. Now move on with TPV. For TPV, they have allocated 225, roughly 16,000 spent, and the remaining of 209. And the TPV share, in general, no funds spent, but for events, 12,000, almost 13,000 roughly. Here is the breakdown for the Taste of TPV. No expenses for device share. And here is a breakdown for Emily for roughly 3,000. Lastly, Carter for 244, and here is the breakdown as well. Any comments, any concerns from the Quarter 1 reports?
Madeline?
What happens when an organization overspends? So after like you check up on them, like is the funds that they overspent by removed from the next quarter?
Well, in this case, because they overspend from their whole budget, usually they need to reimburse ASG. We decided for the circumstances and situations that we are in, because the amount is still 120, we decided to forgive, but we're giving a warning to this to the McNair Center that any violations like this, they would need to reimburse AHG, but that's usually the process.
Thank you.
Lauren?
When you say forgive, does that mean it just comes out of like our reserves fund then? Or where does that money come from then?
That's an extra allocations that ASG would do for the McNair. It's like if they requested more, like that difference to the finance committee.
Angelo?
Yeah, so I just have a question. Like when some of the descriptions are kind of vague, like TPB had like $10,000 in giveaways. Like, what does that mean? Like, it doesn't really specify like how those giveaways were done or anything.
I think Lupe can speak more on this if you're comfortable with.
Yeah, speaker, is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, Carter. So the reason why giveaways is general is because it's up to the discretion of the committee. Typically what we do with our events is that they begin programming, and so with that we don't necessarily know which direction they intend for the event to go and if they would even be utilizing giveaways, and so we put that as a general set aside so that if a event or a committee believes that their event would be better attended or they think that it would be beneficial to give away stuff, that's what we do, just because if we do too much specifics, we may not be able to have a range outside of that, and an idea may come in the middle of the year or in the semester that it just allows for more freedom to think of new creative ways for giveaways and to make sure that it is within relation of the event.
Thank you. Fantasy?
Yes, I have one question about a section from ASG Ops, specifically about the food spent from exec or to exec. I don't know if the details of expenditure means that this person ate the food. I don't know. You got the food and then it was for other people. I know it says one directly, many indirectly, but I don't know if $20 does that. I'm just wondering if that money's being spent on food for exec folks.
Not only exec, this was offered to everyone. I think senators, correct me if I'm wrong, Madeline, at that training when we had that training. Some of us didn't ask for funding, but this means like you went to the grocery store and you buy some groceries, you give that receipt for the day of the fall training, and it will be reimbursed to you. That's how it works. Not exactly just food, but as well as groceries or something.
So that was for the 3 trainings that we had. Sorry, my follow-up.
Would you like to add anything, Marilyn?
Is that okay, Maya? So this was, we brought our ASG and TPB exec teams back a couple weeks early in the summer, and we gave them a $20 per day per diem for training for food. And so these were reimbursements for those per diems.
Thank you. Angelo?
Well, like, so the ones that say $100, or is it like it's assumed that that's multiple days, or like how do we, like, it's not really specific.
Can you take the question, Marilyn?
Yeah, so students were given $20 per day and the training was 2 weeks. So the most that they could have gotten reimbursed was $200.
Okay. I have other questions, but I can wait.
Fantasy?
Thank you. Yeah, another question about the ASG Ops tab. Is it pretty traditional either of ASG or other centers to be funding professional staff wages, GA wages, and then student wages during the summer?
Yes.
So just the last couple 3. And if so, like, I was just saying, do other centers do that as well? Have we ever looked to funding from the school for those staff positions, or is it just from the student fee?
Yeah, this is only for I think the ASG operations, and we cover the wages for the graduate assistant as well as some professional staff with the student activity fee. Did that answer your question? Or? Okay, thank you.
Angelo?
So what are entertainment fees? Like on
the top?
Like it says an entertainment fee for like $1,700 on the VC for the TPB. Like, what are those things for?
Can I answer this?
Of course.
Speaker.
Yeah, so I was just thinking like maybe a quick 10-15.
So entertainment, we typically use this in the sense that in a regular semester, regular year, that would be considered an artist, or if we're having a speaker, anything that kind of is pertaining to having a service where it kind of provides more of like something that students can watch and partake in. So this semester, what that would include is for our Taste of TPB event to help students, typically it was for first year students, but we opened it to all students this year. It was the escape room where we paid a service to help allow students to participate in an escape room and meet various other toreros. And so that is typically what entertainment does, is kind of just like the more like fun ways to like spend time and meet other individuals.
Would it be possible, like it just helpful for us to understand if there was like descriptions of it in the budget?
Yeah. Angela, can you please raise your hand so I can call on you? Angela.
Yeah, sorry. So like each time like we speak, we should raise our hand again to respond, just to clarify?
Yes, that's how Robert's Rules works. You can speak, Angelo.
So just would it be possible in the budget to have these descriptions? Because I think it's kind of confusing. I mean, at least for me, to go through and kind of understand it when it's like very vague like that. Because when I've seen other tabs, there's like detailed descriptions on what it's going to, and then other tabs or other budgets, it's not very detailed. And so to have like clear like standards of what goes into the budget, and so we can all understand, I think would be really helpful.
Of course, Angelo, that's something that will be trying to be more focused for the quarter reports, which are coming up next month.
Fantasy.
Sorry, yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna echo some sentiments of the detail. As a former person who was on like the committee, I know that we really made sure centers were super explicit about what they were spending on. Otherwise they would get funding taken away or they'd have to reimburse, which I feel bad for. But you know, yeah, just being specific. So if like our exec team could be a little specifically on like the welcome week from the president's budget, which just says services. So I don't know exactly what that was. Just echoing, I guess. Hopefully for the next couple of quarters, we have those details.
Of course, thank you for your feedback. Thanks. Any more questions before I move on to the reallocations?
Angelo?
So I just have like a comment that we've like spent more on funding like individual meals for ASG than we have like on the food pantry for the like students. So that was just like a comment I noticed or when I'm reviewing.
Yeah. Any more comments, concerns?
Angelo?
Oh no, my bad. I didn't mean to have it still raised.
You're good. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns?
Okay, I'll move on to the reallocations. This is the new version that the Finance Committee decided last Monday. And the big difference here is on the reallocations. Here the new breakdown for the executive team, almost 280. TPB is the same, 225. Centers 104. And ASG and Credit Zone is the same, 146. And the Students in Need Fund was previously mentioned. But the big difference from the previous one, which is this one, is that new reallocations to the executive team, which I'm going to go more in detail. And basically that's it, but I'll go more in detail when I explain this. So for the centers, the only ones, just a few dead changes to the reallocations. The LGBTQ plus, one of their petitions was to return funds to ASG because they were not able to spend all the research for this semester, and a reallocation of 250 from this event to the LGBTQ plus History Month in collaboration with the Black Student Research Commons. So that's their main difference for the LGBTQ, a reallocation of 250. And of course, their amount is lower than in their previous budget. For the SSS, they requested more funding, and here is the breakdown. Giveaways, which was approved by the Finance Committee. The reasoning. No changes from the Empower Hours. And for this one also, this new line item that went to this new amount. And lastly, the midterms and final survival pack, which is this line item. This one wasn't approved, so. So basically, that was it for the SSS. The UFNC as well, they are requesting to reallocate funds from this diversity event to the multicultural night. So that was approved. Where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Under detail is here. More in detail how the event is going to be implemented with the COVID restrictions and everything. And mostly of that is for gift cards, giveaways, a new way to, to keep these centers being able to promote their events. Now I'll move on with executive budget, which the president, he's keeping the same amount, 49,000 that he previously had, and the main difference was to reallocate the 20,000 from the Ole weekend, which didn't happen, to which that happened by the internal cost. So it went to his discretionary funds. That's why it's a difference of 13 to 20 to 33,000. Before I move on with my budget and the Speaker of the Senate budget, I'm going to mention that the Finance Committee decided, to use this the GrabHub and DoorDash, but the amount that we first decided to implement was $15. In last Finance Committee meeting, we decided that if some of you have used GrabHub, you know that $15 is not enough. So the Finance Committee decided to go with $20, which those are the main difference here in the budget. So for my ASGBC funding, I gave back 20,000. For the Finance Committee food, this is a new breakdown for the food. So that's why I went from 450 to 510 with a multiplication of 12 members times 20 and the remaining of the meetings. And that's for my budget. And the Speaker of the Senate, this is the amount requested. And I'll go more in detail what are the main differences. This is for the Senate. So for the remaining of the semester, this will be the amount to allocate for this for food. 15 members, 51 at $20 for the remaining Senate meetings. And this is the amount that we approve. The students are committed, because it's not going to happen, so it goes back. This was approved. The main difference here is a new request from Dr. Avery. You probably remember her asking for an extra 75,000 for the Students in Need Fund. The Finance Committee decided to approve this to support the students that really needed during these difficult times. You probably remember this is what it's going for: laptops, external hard drives, webcam, health phone, etc. So that's how these funds are used. And yeah. Lastly, the elite closed captioning for Senate meetings for 1820. Those are the main difference. All the changes that we did in our last Finance Committee meeting. Do I have any questions?
Fantasy?
Hello. So these amounts were already approved. I'm going to have to go back to TBB and pick on them a little bit. But so the amounts are approved that are in green, and then the amounts in the blue are requested. I'm just looking through some of their costs, and maybe this is me just like assuming, but like I don't see anything about them being virtual. So I guess maybe they can like answer this if they're going to be, like if they're still going to be events or if they're gonna be virtual. Like how are they approved if we aren't able to do the events? And this may go to other events that centers are doing too. I noticed some in the UFMC, but yeah, so hopefully that question makes sense.
A lot of the events and many centers didn't submit any changes, which means usually they're not going to do any events, and usually what happens at the end of the semester, those funds go back to ASG. And we understand because the circumstances, they don't really know how to approach and how to do events. So yeah, if you see no changes in some of them, it's because they didn't submit any changes. At least for
Can I also?
Yes. Yeah.
Can I also answer the question?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, thank you for asking, Fantasy. So primarily, most of our events are focused on virtual, considering the circumstances that we do want to prevent. Additionally, though, I would like to address that part of our budget is related to on-campus housing, not on-campus programming, because with the limited return to campus, we have been asked to also provide very brief, like grab-and-go kits that students can do to do activities in their dorms to ensure that there's still things to do while still practicing safety. And so part of our budget is actually being spent to purchasing like craft kits or different ways to entertain students within their dorms so that they can safely still have some form of entertainment on campus, and just being here and studying can only go so much. So it is primarily, we are pushing all of our efforts towards virtual, but we also are providing some on-campus programming, and we've been working with ResLife to collaborate and make sure that it's the most effective and safest way in distribution.
We've reached our time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to make a motion to extend the time, they could do that now.
Fantasy, is your hand raised to extend the, Fantasy, go ahead.
I move to extend this discussion by 10 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to extend this discussion by 10 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Can Mackenzie and Max please vote? Max, you there? Guess not. Okay, motion passes. You can continue the discussion. Fantasy?
Thank you. I was just a quick question. Is there going to be like a follow-up on how folks did spend the money? One, because it could like generate virtual ideas for next semester, and two, it could just like kind of help us know what folks did spend the money on. If, you know, I totally get that we don't really know in the moment how they're going to spend it, but is there going to be a follow-up on how people did spend it, line item by line item?
Yes, that's going to be covered too, which is going to be a discussion next month as well.
Chidi, was your hand raised?
No, that was my bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Just making sure. Fantasy?
Sorry, my hand was also raised, but I have a quick question. Are the captions gone? Closed captionings? I don't see them at the bottom of the screen anymore. Oh, because it was on Google Slides. Okay. Okay, never mind. As long as it was approved, though. I think I saw it was approved. Never mind.
And just a quick comment. Senators will need to vote in our reallocations. So, you know, if there is no further discussion, we will be voting on the relocations that we did on Monday.
Lauren?
I move to approve the reallocations.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the reallocations. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, please vote. Jay, can you please vote? Motion passes. The reallocations have been approved.
Thank you, everyone. And just as last week thing, the ASGBC controller will be presenting the Grubhub and the DoorDash guidelines. And this is more for your, if you receive any questions from your constituents, at least you have some background information for you to help you with. So Chris, if it's okay, Maya, is to have Chris present.
All good.
Present on again, I'm sorry.
On the ASGBC.
Unfortunately, it's not in the agenda, so Chris cannot present. I'm sorry. He can present next week if you ask to put it on the agenda, but if it's not on the agenda, it can't be presented.
Okay. Not even me, right?
No, because it's not on the agenda. I'm sorry. If that's it for the Q1 allocations review, we'll move on to final business and hearing of the public. So at this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the week before or present urgent business, and any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly on non-agenda items. Angelo?
Do you say my name? So I just wanted to share that last week at the core curriculum committee that I was at, there's a new resource available to students. So if you go into your My Academics window on your My San Diego, and you go down to where there's like a top bar of like my registration, my classes, my academic resources, and then there's two panes. So the transfer credit articulation, it's now like a working database. So if you took a class at a local community college and you wanted to know how that's going to be transferred to USD, you can go in there and see if it's a class that's already been like articulated, and see what requirements it meets for USD specifically. And then also just keep in mind that this is a working database. So just because something's not on there doesn't mean it hasn't already been approved. So that's just the case where you'd have to go to the dean or go to your advisor to seek for approval. But and there's also a video on there for anyone who wants to see how to specifically do it that they made. So again, this is just on your My Academics tab, and it's going to be an announcement should be made within the next few weeks.
Thank you very much, Angelo. Ezra?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a quick update from the IDE committee that I forgot to mention in the committee update, but we do have a Google form that I just sent into the chat for anyone who wants to voice any thoughts, opinions on the Silent No More op-ed response outside of the forums that we'll hold over Zoom. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that and had that link, and that's just an open way for anyone to voice any thoughts, opinions, responses, etc.
Point of information. That's what the doc said. I don't know. I just have a question.
Yes.
ask to request access for that link. If you could open the access to the whoever sent it.
Yes. Yeah.
Parliamentarian, do you have to be addressed to have a point of information or clarification?
No, you're allowed to interrupt.
Okay. Thank you. Chris?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. In the final business and hearing of the public, I was asking if I could actually present the information for the Grubhub and DoorDash for all of your constituents to know about. If that's okay with you, Speaker.
How long would this be?
4 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Can I share my screen real quick?
Do you have Google Slides to put closed captioning on?
It is a Word document, actually. If everybody can see this right now, we'll shake the head or something. Good to go. So just real quick, this is the guidelines that the ASGBC has outlined for the rest of the semester, so we can continuously allocate food to events and organizations. There's two sort of timelines that we're working with. Just an overview real quick. Both organizations, all organizations on campus have a maximum of 3 events they can request for the rest of the semester, with a $20 per student allocation, as Rafa mentioned. 2 timelines going down for this. You can request food for during your event. You would complete the ASGBC funding request as normal 2 weeks prior to the event. And then you also need to complete a Grubhub/DoorDash Google form, which is hyperlinked within the guidelines here. For funds allocated during the event, they will be credited the morning of the event and then will be voided that evening. And additional funds will not be allocated for people who were not pre-registered by the Grubhub request form. The other timeline that we're working with is a request for food after the event. So this is an incentive that organizations can put out. If you come to our event, we will credit you with those $20 or whatever request of money they have. Again, same situation. Funding request is to be done, 2 weeks prior to the event, and then your Grubhub request form can be submitted 4 business days before that event, with a final attendance list given to us at least 48 hours after the event. For allocations for that, the credit will be posted the following week, and they will not be voided. They can keep that credit for the rest of the semester as is. A few penalties just to make sure nobody is abusing the system. If we have any inconsistencies as far as people using the credit and showing up or not showing up to the organizations, we're going to flag that, and we're going to charge the organization, ask them about that situation, and then we're going to go a little bit further in case we find any one student pushing that sort of issue. Then the organization won't suffer, but the student will face some sort of repercussions from that. Apart from that, that's all the information that you guys can send out to your constituents. I'll send this out to, for someone to send out to the Senate. Thank you.
If you have a link to that, you can send it in the chat as well, Chris. Chidi?
Got it.
This isn't about what Chris just presented on. Is that all right?
Yeah, no problem. It's not an agenda item, so you can talk about whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I had reached out to my advisor, Amanda, on possibly setting up a meeting with the Vistas and their, advisors, their team, and their contributors. And I wanted to extend the invitation to all of you in case you're interested in meeting with them and possibly working to maybe find a solution or improve the relationship that the Senate has with the Vistas. So if you're interested, please put your email in the chat, and then we can work on finding out a time that works for everybody, and we can meet up with them.
Thank you, Chidi. Linnea?
Hi, everyone. My name is Linnea. I use she, her pronouns. And I wanted to speak a little bit about my thoughts as to what went down at last week's hearing of the public. I'm not affiliated with the Vista. I am in no way affiliated with the students who wrote that op-ed, but I'm just here kind of to speak as a USD student and a constituent of all of you student representatives, because I was pretty disappointed in how that topic was handled. So basically what I saw in last week's hearing of the public was the Vista editor who brought it upon herself to come and spend her time helping to answer y'all's questions. She was helping to teach you about the op-ed approval process, explain how the website works, how different sections on the website operate, and she even agreed to y'all's suggestion that the Vista should include an opinion disclaimer sentence at the end of the online version, not just the in-print version of the opinion section. So I think what she presented there was an opportunity for productive discussion and learning, and instead what I witnessed was a lot of accusatory statements and aggressive gotcha questions that just kind of instantly placed her in a position of defense and, you know, kind of forced her to have to defend the Vista and its credibility, which I'm hoping wasn't the intention of the Senate, but I was pretty disappointed to see that. I heard that you all found this op-ed to be tone deaf and disingenuous, to say the least, and I totally hear you. I'm on the same page. I found the rhetoric and the logic problematic, but I think it's important for us to acknowledge that the Vista is a respectable, award-winning media organization committed to journalistic ethics. If you examine any credible media organization outside of USD's campus, they're gonna have pieces written from the left, from the right, from everything in between, everything outside of that. The only ones that won't have that are going to be media organizations that are explicitly partisan, which was interestingly one of the accusations that some senators made against the Vista. So I think that's an interesting irony there. But I just kind of want to finish by saying I think there's absolutely a discussion that needs to be had about how our campus responds to a piece like this. You know, I think even the Vista editor kind of explained that's the purpose of an op-ed, is to generate discussion. And I would like to, you know, I hear you all are going to be having some meetings and stuff to discuss, which I totally commend and totally support. And I would like to pitch that I don't think censorship is the answer here, to argue that the op-ed's message about conservative voices being ignored is incorrect. And then in the same breath, try to basically censor that conservative voice is kind of nonsensical. Journalists can't pick and choose what stories they publish based on what they agree and don't disagree with.
We've reached our time for this agenda item, so if anyone would like to extend the time, they could do that right now.
Lauren?
I move to extend this agenda item by 15 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend this discussion by 15 minutes. Is there any further discussion? I'm assuming that the hands raised are not, no, they're not senators. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, please cast your votes. Motion passes. 15 minutes. Linnea, you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you know, to continue, I think kind of censoring this piece sends the message that these views don't exist on our campus. And that's the one part of the op-ed that I agreed with, is that these views are found on our campus. I'm sure we can all think of a time when we interacted with a student who shared this kind of viewpoint. And I don't think it's right for us to kind of just try to paint this picture of tolerance and diversity as a campus when we all know that these views are prevalent on our campus, and we can see it in the way that there were multiple people who signed on to this op-ed. So if you're a senator and you don't see your view being represented in the Vista, or you don't see certain voices being highlighted that you think deserve to be highlighted, I urge you to write a piece or encourage your constituents to write a piece. That's kind of what y'all are here to do. And it sounds like you're already talking about crafting a response, which I think is great. But I think that's where the discussion should have led last week, instead of, you know, just kind of trying to drag the VISTA. The VISTA has always made it clear that they're open to student submissions, and you all are elected student representatives. So I would argue that it's your job to understand how this institution works. It's your job to be familiar with what its processes are and extend that opportunity to your constituents. You know, so I think submit pieces that challenge that narrative, support events that challenge that narrative, endorse classes and student orgs that challenge that narrative that was found in that op-ed. And based on what I've heard earlier on this meeting, it sounds like you all are doing really good work with that. I want to extend appreciation to Chidi for kind of trying to organize this meeting to repair the relationship between ASG and the VISTA. That seems like a really good place to start. But yeah, I just want to say, you know, when my friends and I read this op-ed, we were super upset, as I'm sure a lot of you were as well. But it caused us to think about how we can better challenge this narrative, how to operate on a campus with other students who share these beliefs, and express how can we better express the ways that this kind of rhetoric is harmful to disenfranchised communities of color. So I kind of hope that that's where this response goes, instead of just attacking the VISTA for operating the way that a credible, legitimate, professional media organization is supposed to operate. That's all I had to say.
Point of personal privilege.
Taken well. I just want to say
Point
thank
of
you.
personal privilege.
Taken well. I just want to say thank you very much for your input. It's appreciated, and I'm sure senators will take what you said into consideration. However, as speaker, I just want to say that it's up to my discretion to decide if someone is out of order, and none of the senators last week broke Robert's Rules of Order. And what I will not tolerate is tone policing of senators that are bringing attention to the systemic racism embedded within higher education, and by extension, the racism of the media that comes out of higher education. So I just want everyone to be aware of that. I will not be tolerating that in ASG or in Senate. Thank you. And I'm sure that Ezra would love to have you come to the open forums. We would love to hear more of your insight. So thank you. Tyler?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me speak. Lanaya, great job. Thank you so much. Just a quick question about the budget. I just want to know just the reasoning behind like publishing a separate budget on your guys' website, and then like speaking about and like having access to like a different budget in an open meeting. I just would like some clarity on that because it seems kind of counterintuitive, but any insight would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Rafa or Madeline, if you would like to address that.
Of course, I think it's appropriate to have a second budget. I'll talk with my advisor and prepare something to reach out to the public about if there is any questions about the budget, reallocations, and so on. So thank you, Tyler, for bringing this topic up.
Alana Bledman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to address some previous concerns about the conversation that happened on the Senate floor regarding the VISTA. The VISTA has had a long and tumultuous relationship with a bevy of students of color and Black students on this campus. It would be irresponsible for the VISTA as a professional award-winning organization to ignore the voices and concerns of the minority public in which I was and am still a part of at this university. prior to my title as a senator, I have had a specifically long and tumultuous relationship with the VISTA, shifting, bending, and taking the words of students of color and simply not allowing their pieces into the VISTA. Now that discussion can be held separately outside of the context of the Senate floor, but it is noteworthy that as a journalistic entity, definitely, whether we like it or not, biases form, partisanship happens, sometimes neutrality aims to benefit the oppressor and the voices of the majority, as you said previously, that these voices are on our campus as a majority. So as far as censorship goes, I don't think the conversation of censorship is even valid, as the article was not censored in any way. It was posted and is being widely spoken about. I think the intentions of the IDE committee is to create an avenue where the voices of the minority that do not feel like they are heard, that are silenced consistently by institutions, which I would agree that the VISTA is an institution that works in conjunction with this higher educational institution. So it would be unwise of us to ignore the power and intention behind one of the free presses in our Constitution, you know? So we just have to take those things into consideration, and I am looking forward to more responses and more discussion in regards to that article.
Point of personal privilege, I have a meeting to attend.
Taken well. Thank you, Alana. Lene?
Yeah, I would just like to clarify, because I think maybe my messaging wasn't delivered in the way that it should have been, which is totally on me, but in no way am I trying to insinuate that we should not be critiquing racism within our institutions and our systems, or trying to insinuate that it doesn't exist or that we should tolerate it. That wasn't at all the message I was trying to send. So if that's how it was portrayed, that's my bad. I apologize for that. And I agree with everything that was said. I think the message I was more so trying to put out is that it didn't seem to me like the most productive way to go about having these conversations. It just seemed like an attack against one person, whereas it could have been held in a more like open discussion type of forum, which I believe happened afterwards, and it sounds like it is still continuing to happen as these meetings continue to progress. So I just wanted to say that I was uncomfortable with kind of the way that the conversation went down last week. I'm not familiar with Robert's rules, so I'm not trying to insinuate that anyone was like out of line. I just know that I heard terms like political propaganda being thrown out and stuff. And, I'm not affiliated with the VISTA, I'm not affiliated with ASG, but those are just really weighty words to use. And I just wanted to express my thoughts about the way that was delivered. But I absolutely think that, these kinds of viewpoints need to be addressed. And I think that the media definitely plays a role in the way that we address it and the way that they're portrayed. And I'm really concerned with people coming away from this meeting thinking that I was trying to dismiss racism or dismiss the op-ed, which was not my intention at all. So I really wanted to clarify that, Madam Speaker, and everybody else who kind of mentioned comments.
Thank you. Madeline?
Yeah, I apologize if I guess it came off as an attack on the USD Vistas. I don't think the conversation was intended to do that. I will say the USC Vistas, they're a newspaper and they are responsible and they have standards to uphold in like, you know, presenting a civil discussion and presenting information fairly. This piece was divisive, and I think it was an important point to make that a divisive piece that has harmful opinions does not come without consequences, and many people hold the opinion that it should be revised because of these harmful and divisive opinions. And just like with anything, I think the USD Vistas should at least be held accountable and responsible for conducting these discussions.
Thank you very much, Madeline. Ezra?
Yeah, I just want to let Linnea know that we are continuing to have these open forums like last night's meeting, which I know was very short notice, so many people could not attend, but it was recorded, and I will find a way to make that recording available. And I will be sure to invite you to any other forums that we have, any other discussions, and you're always welcome to email me and schedule like just a one-on-one in my office hours anytime. So I just want to extend that invitation.
Thank you. Lauren?
Yeah, I want to add something, and I apologize if this doesn't come across correctly. I think that a lot of people's frustration right now is that the comments we are making in regards to this article and the things that we want solved about it need to be addressed with a certain person who has not shown up to the discussions. And so I think a lot of the frustration gets translated on people who, yes, are still at fault, but do not deserve all of the heat that they have been getting. So Linnea, I appreciate the point you're trying to make and thank you for it, and hope that we can bring what you're meaning to say into our further discussions.
Alexa?
Sorry if this sounds, if this isn't like what I mean to say, but like, I think also maybe some may have been expressing what their constituents, like the frustrations that their constituents had expressed to them. So I don't know, I'm just bringing that up, that maybe like the way that some may have sounded harsh to others might just be their way of bringing up concerns. Also, point of personal privilege, Madam Speaker.
Taken well.
Thank you.
Ben?
I just have a general question regarding what another senator said. Has there been any sort of outreach to the authors of this article to see if they would like to participate in some open dialogue, some civil dialogue about how they felt, why they wrote the article, and how we can move forward in a more diplomatic way?
Ezra, would you like to address that?
Yeah, so I have been in contact with Mary Logan, the main author. I know there were multiple contributors, but Mary Logan is the author on the piece, and she was invited to the open forum last night. Unfortunately, was not able to attend, but I am working on scheduling some kind of meeting or discussion with Mary Logan specifically and any of the other contributors who would like to and are available. So that is going on and taking place and being facilitated. There hasn't been much response, honestly, yet from the authors, but the outreach has been done and will continue. And I'll keep everyone updated on that.
We've reached our extended time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to further extend the time, they could make a motion to do so.
Sean,
I move to extend the time by 5 minutes.
Second.
there is a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend final business and hearing the public by 5 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Ezra, I believe your hand was raised.
It was just in regards to, I just wanted to mention that I was in contact with Mary Logan, but that was already brought up, so I'm good.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion from senators, members of the public? Sabrina.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I understand having meetings via Zoom, especially with not everyone able to always show themselves, like show their faces. It can lead to a bit of a disconnect, and maybe things that we say can come across differently versus in person with that in-personal dialogue, since there aren't nonverbal cues. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that had this been an in-person dialogue, it could have maybe been received differently. And I think that's important to just know and note, because I feel like we have a really good group of passionate senators, and Zoom doesn't always articulate that as well. Thank you.
Point of privilege.
Taken well. Mackenzie.
Point of privilege, I have class.
Taken well. Amber.
Hi, thank you everyone. My name is Amber. I serve as a graduate assistant for student activities and involvement, and I just have a quick announcement to make about an opportunity for all of our senators. As part of my role, one of the things that I'm really involved in is assessing our programs, especially our training programs that we offer to the Senate. And so this year we're going to be conducting some one-on-one interviews to gather feedback from our senators about our Senate training that took place this year. We're trying to learn a little bit more about what went well, what could be improved, how the Zoom format worked for all of you, and just generally what your experiences with that training program was like. So we're looking for about 10 senators who might be interested in signing up for this opportunity. We're really hoping to get some returners to ASG, some first-year senators, some committee chairs. And so if anyone's interested in participating in these interviews and having that opportunity to share your feedback with us, because we really do use your feedback to directly plan our next training program that we'll be putting on. So if you would like to share your feedback with us, go ahead and just drop your name into the chat box, and then we will reach out to you and set those interviews up. They should be no more than 15 to 30 minutes of your time, either over Zoom or over the phone. So if you're interested, please let us know. It's a really great opportunity to share your feedback and to, be part of the planning process for that spring semester training. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amber. So if any senators are interested, I'm seeing a lot. Keep it coming. Keep the emails coming. Thank you, everybody. Does anybody else have anything they would like to share? Comments, concerns, questions? Justin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just an update referencing back to my announcements. If there are any College of Arts and Science senators or students who would like to take part in the academic hearing committee that I mentioned that the College of Arts and Science is conducting, please either privately message me or email me after this meeting. Thank you.
If there are no other discussion points to be had today during final business? Alana, you just raised your hand. Do you have something to say?
No, I was gonna make a motion, but I'll hold.
So since there's no more discussion to be had today, from what I can see, is someone can make a motion to adjourn today's meeting. Alana,
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Second.
there's a motion on the floor, and seconded to adjourn today's meeting. If there is no further discussion, please vote. Motion passes. The meeting has been adjourned. Thank you, everybody.